I don't know what the title of this video will be, but I know it's just, I guess maybe it could be relevant for other people as well, not necessarily about friendship, but about other things. It's just because it's happened so many times, I feel like I just have to, it's not a rant or a vent, I guess maybe like venting, but I just feel like I need to sort of express it on camera. Like, I don't know if anybody would even watch, but all I really just want to do is just, I guess, be able to validate myself to myself. I don't know. I'm not usually the only one in situations like this, but I'm just gonna say everything. Sort of in a question and answer format, just so I can actually be structured, because I don't want to rant for like 12-20 minutes, which I might still do, but at least it'll be a bit structured. Is it okay to suddenly cut off ties? The simple answer is no. Only in some situations, like if you're dealing with some sort of like murderer or thief or some sort of crazy like person, obviously in those situations you can cut off ties straight away. But in a situation where you've actually had a meaningful relationship or friendship, especially if the friendship has gone for more than 2 years, for a long time, it doesn't really matter how long, like if you felt a strong connection, you know, it's not really okay to cut off ties suddenly. That's not to say I do that anymore. I used to when I was younger, but you know, it has happened again recently, you know, and that's why I just feel like talking about it. What's the negatives? Obviously the negatives, as I said before, if you've had a strong, meaningful relationship with whoever it is, or friendship with the person, with the people or whatever, clearly you've lost something, you've lost friends, and you're in a different situation. You've got less people to talk to, less people to connect with, and less people that understand you. What are the positives? 3 words, 2 words, learning and freedom. The first situation where I cut off ties very suddenly with my friends, I deleted him from Facebook, there's a friend that he asked me to move out with him. At the time, I wasn't sure if I could, and I legitimately was not sure, especially because at the moment I still live at home. I mean, I'm currently sort of trying to move out, but I'm definitely trying to move out, but I told my friend that I'll look at my financial situation, I'll look at my overall situation, like is it necessary to put myself in this financial burden to move out of home where I don't have to pay rent? Like, yes, maybe I have to do other things, but I don't have to pay rent. Is there a point in me moving out of home to live with my friend when my finances are not even good? So I told my friend, not in those words, but I just said to him that, that I couldn't afford it. This is somebody I'd been talking to for more than a year, we hung out a lot, all this stuff. And he basically, from that day onwards, first he became aloof and then just started ignoring me. Any message I would send, any well wishes, anything like that. And, he'd gone off on a trip to America, to meet with some people and all this stuff. And the whole time I was liking all his photos, all this stuff. It wasn't like damage control, I just genuinely liked his photos, genuinely was interested in what he was doing. And he would ignore me. He would ignore all the messages I sent, but he wouldn't ignore other people. And I almost feel like it was on purpose there. He would purposely go on like other people's pages, reply to them. It sounds like paranoia, but when you know someone, you know that they're doing that. It's different from when you don't know them and you're like, well, I don't know. You don't know. If you're an acquaintance, if that person's an acquaintance, someone you don't know well, then you don't assume anything. But that person was someone I was friends with. One night, I guess I was kind of in a rage, and I talked to a mutual friend who said, yeah, he does this stuff a lot. He did it to me. I just ended up deleting him on Facebook and I cut off all ties. And yeah, that's not the most mature response, but I felt like we can't even talk. And here's the thing. Clearly, our friendship is conditional. If I had moved out with him, we'd still be friends. But if I hadn't, he would stop talking to me and ignore me. This wasn't like over like a month. This was over 6 months. Okay, this isn't something like, oh, I stopped talking to him just because he ignored me for a bit. Everybody goes through some sort of situation with their friends. But to purposely ignore me for more than 6 months, that's different. That's just somebody who doesn't respect you. And that's how I look at it. Call me wrong, but that's how I look at it. The second situation, and the reason why I'm making this video actually, happened recently. I ended up doing the same thing with another group of friends. I deleted them from Facebook, blocked them, and blocked their phone numbers. I recently came to realize that the Seventh-day Adventist Church just is not for me. And for a number of different reasons, I'd have to make a separate video in order to make that, I don't want this video to be too overly long. To cut a long story short, I could not reconcile the fact that only people who go to church on Saturday and our seventh day are going to heaven, everybody else is going to hell. I could not reconcile the fact that all sins are equal. So if you murder someone, it's equal to lying. You know, all those things I couldn't reconcile. And the last thing I really couldn't reconcile was, you know, if you have something like pork, if you have certain foods, it defiles you and makes you a bad person or something. And, you know, I felt held back, you know, by those little things. I held back, not little things if they affect your life. Like, I had to be a different, like, at first I was okay with it, but I started realizing that I had to be a different person. Like, if we're not completely different, but I had to sort of hide the fact that I still ate pork stuff. Like, how does that make you a bad person? Like, I can't understand that. There's so many things I can go into. This is not really about religion. I'd probably just rather make a separate video to talk about that issue specifically, like, with them. But combining that with all the stuff that I was going through, the fact that people couldn't understand why I couldn't make it to church every week, especially when I explained my situation, with just everything, like with university, with the fact how far it was, the stuff happening just in my personal life, I don't really want to say, obviously. They didn't understand it, and even people at church specifically, not my friends, would be very judgmental towards me. Like, a lot of the people who go to church would actually be very unpleasant and would frown at me and be really rude just because I wasn't going to church every week. Because apparently, if you don't go to church every week, you're a bad person. You know, and I just sat there and said to myself, well, if that's the way it's gonna be, you know, I'm gonna just cut ties. I'm not cut ties. This had been going for more than 3 years. I actually saw, like, looked at the Bible that I was given. I was given that Bible in the year 2010. And it's been 5 years of me accepting all of that. Well, not 5 years, maybe 3 years, because I didn't feel that way at first, you know, and it's a long process. But to cut a long story short, because I can see this video is like 8 minutes long, you know, and I guess I wanted to be relevant to anybody watching this. You know, it's not everybody's in the same situation, but I just realized that, you know, I've been tolerating so many problems. So I tried to explain it to my friends. I told them, you know, one friend in particular, we actually caught up and we talked about it. And I ended up telling my pastor, look, I'm going to leave. And I feel bad saying this, but one of my friends sent me a message saying, that's sad to hear that you're leaving, but, you know, please just keep up with this something. To cut a long story short, she basically implied that I'd be going to hell now that I was no longer going to church. And it kind of angered me, and it sat with me for a couple of days, and everything sat with me. And I felt like I tried to reason with the situation, with everyone. I just deleted them, and I cut ties and everything, and that literally happened a couple of days ago. And so the reason why I'm making this video, I can't reconcile with people not understanding me and not accepting me for who I am. And I can't reconcile that with anything. I don't think that anybody has a right to judge you for your beliefs, whether or not you believe something or you don't. I don't think or whether or not I can move out with you or I can't. No friendship should be conditional. If you, fair enough, there's certain conditions like, okay, be respectful, we should have mutual understanding, things like that. That's basic stuff. If you're friends already, you probably already have those understandings. But any friendship that is conditional is not a real friendship. Just think to yourself, if you don't do certain things with somebody you're friends with, are they your friend? The simple answer is no, they're not. They're only a friend because the situation is right for them, not for you. And that's the bit where I say the bit about freedom. To cut a long story short, if your friendship is conditional, it's not a real friendship. What advice would I give to anyone thinking of ending a relationship, leaving an organization, ending a friendship, or anything similar? I kind of feel like I already said it, but my advice would be really assess the situation, be really discerning, which is basically what I said in my video. I don't know if I cut that bit out because I tried to make that short as well. Just when you do decide to cut ties with somebody, don't look at it with regret, which is what I'm trying to do, because it's just the feeling of knowing that I have less people to hang out with, I have less people that I talk to. It just really sucks, and that's just being honest. But at the same time, if I've got to change who I am to be your friend or be a part of your organization, or I guess be in a relationship, I don't have experience with relationships, but I'm honestly, that would be the same. I'm no longer gonna pretend to be okay with things that I'm not okay with. I used to do that when I was younger because I was so desperate for friends, but I'm not desperate to have friends anymore. You know, it sucks to be alone if you do end up alone, if you have to keep cutting off friends, you know. My feeling is that just make better friends. And that's all I have to say. I hope this video doesn't actually end up being 13 minutes long. I'm gonna probably cut out a lot if I can.